Welcome to People, Power, and Politics. Hard talk, riveting interviews, community updates, in-depth analysis. That's People, Power, and Politics. We tell it to you as it is. No holds barred. You are the people, you have the power. We bring you the politics. To listen to our show, be a guest, or to advertise, visit www.pppradio.nyc. That's www.pppradio.nyc.
Following President Biden's decision to leave the 2024 race, members of the Democratic Party nationwide are voicing their support for the new presumptive nominee, Vice President Kamala Harris. Joining us today is Whitaker, a former White House presidential appointee who served as senior advisor for New York State for the Biden-Harris 2020 victory campaign, political strategist, and fundraiser. A former CEO of Planned Parenthood Empire State and an active leader in local and national politics spheres, Ms. Whitaker was a member of the team that elected Barack Obama to the White House, and she had the privilege of introducing President Obama at the Apollo Theater in Harlem, which was captured in an Emmy Award-winning HBO documentary about the historic venue, which is now streaming on Prime. These are exciting times. Welcome. So good to have you. Running for president, Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump. So what are the essential qualities and qualifications you believe a president should possess, and how do you compare those two candidates?
Personally, I think the first one is empathy and compassion. And I do believe that Vice President Harris has shown her empathy and compassion from showing up in the Ukraine at the invasion of Russia. The fact that she has shown up for women in the battle for reproductive justice. The fact that as a Howard grad, she showed up for our young people in the battle to make sure that their student loan debt was forgiven. She has shown her empathy and compassion. I also think that she's a brilliant orator. She's a great speaker and legal mind. She's able to take complex, messages and really transform them in a way that they connect with the average voter, with workers, with young people. And I think that she's just been effective in leadership in multiple places and spaces, both as a lawyer, as a prosecutor, as an attorney general, as a senator, and then as vice president. And so I think that she has the wealth of knowledge and experience that the other team just doesn't have. You have a used car salesman who's selling Bibles, and you have someone who really misrepresented what their family history was, became, an author, and has shown that he's flip-flop. I mean, he himself has called Donald Trump the next Hitler, up until the point that Donald Trump invited him to be his VP nominee, and now he's calling Donald Trump the second coming of Christ. That's not what we need. We need someone who's consistent, who's experienced, who's balanced, who has the right temperament, and can be a leader for us both on the United States stage and the world stage. And for me, that is Kamala Harris.
And looking at behavior and conduct, could you provide examples of behaviors or statements by the former president that demonstrates his unfitness for office compared to the actions of Ms. Harris and the standards that she has shown that are typically expected of a president?
Yeah. I think that, Donald Trump's record, and as I said, I like to call him he who must not be named, speaks for itself in that, he has a history here in New York of fraud. He has a history of racism and, systematic dismissal of communities of color, from his housing practices to his business practices. He has allowed small business owners in New Jersey to go bankrupt with his fraudulent business practices. And we've seen him on the world stage be dismissive of women, immigrants, communities of color. That old saying, when people show you who they are, believe him, believe them.
Maya Angelou, I think.
Thank you, Sister Maya. And I believe that he has shown us, and what we need is for the media to cover it. 100% all day, every day. The same way they've covered other issues like who's dating who in the press. I'd love to see them do deep dives every day.
Investigative journalism.
Really good investigative journalists. Let's get all the people on TV whose businesses have gone and folded, mom and pop businesses because, they took a leap of faith and did business with the Trump organization and didn't get paid, or all the people who went to the defunct Trump University and didn't get their degrees, or all of the people who were supposed to benefit from the Trump nonprofit entity and never did. What he said, doesn't match his works. And I think it's about time that the good investigative journalists really share with the people what they know without fear or favor.
Okay. And let's look at leadership in terms of decision making and judgment. Compare the two candidates.
I think that, one of the things that's really important is temperament and having a level and a sound mind. I think that she's shown that when people have attacked her, she can handle it with grace. If you don't know, you can look at her vice presidential debate that she did if you want to know how she handles stress. As I said, she's been in war zones, she's been in international settings, she's been in local settings. This is someone who's had to deliver statements in front of judges and world leaders. And I believe she has the temperament, she has the energy, she has the depth of knowledge and experience to fully represent us in the role as president. The other one does not.
Okay. And finally, looking at the one whose name we shall not mention, presidency, how has it affected key democratic institutions such as the judiciary, the press, and the electoral system? And how does that show us as indicators that he is not fit for office and should not have another term?
Well, first is he's the architect of the insurrection, and I think we shouldn't forget that. We should not forget what happened on January 6th, where he really tried to steal an election and to dismiss all of the votes of millions of Americans. We also shouldn't forget how he has interacted with those who seek to undermine our democracy, whether it's Russia or the Middle East, the people that he's done business with, and how he speaks about America and American people. But most importantly, I think, which is important, is that the values that he claims to portray, values of faith and humanity, really are not present in his own life. And you can just look at how he handled the epidemic and the COVID crisis. Pretty much telling people to drink bleach while thousands, hundreds of thousands of people died. And I think if there's nothing else for those, particularly of us in New York, where the pandemic, was pretty much, ground zero here, we know every day what it meant to go without the possibility of food or water or vaccines or healthcare. Restaurants were closed, hospitals were closing. We don't ever want to be in that position again. And so someone who doesn't understand how to manage in a crisis is not someone that I think is fit to lead the nation. And Kamala Harris, as VP, was part of the administration that helped us to dig out of that epidemic, that pandemic, and to build a robust economy that is now benefiting the entire world. And I think her record speaks for itself.
All right. So thank you so much, Nai Whitaker. And just final words to the voters for November the 5th.
We encourage everyone to please make a plan to vote. If you have any questions, to please visit newyorkforharris.com, email newyorkforharris@gmail.com to find out how you can get involved. If you have any questions about your poll site, what's on the ballot, how you can take action, how you can donate, how you can volunteer, drop us an email, and we're happy to plug you in. On August 2nd, we will be hosting a virtual office hours online via Zoom. You can sign up at newyorkforharris.com, and we can find a way to help you take action from your corner to your couch.
All right. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
People, power, and politics. Hard talk, riveting interviews, community updates, in-depth analysis. That's people, power, and politics. We tell it to you as it is. No holds barred. You are the people. You have the power. We bring you the politics. To listen to our show, be a guest, or to advertise, visit www.pppradio.nyc. That's www.pppradio.nyc.